Welcome, JK&M Railroad, and today I got a special treat for you. I am here at White Creek Railroad with Adam and his 060 steam locomotive. Now Adam, could you tell us a little bit about your steam locomotive, please?
Sure. This is a Little Engines 060, like you said. Little Engines was a company that started in California many years ago, evolved over the years, different owners. When I bought the castings, the owner was based out of New Jersey, Mike Venezia. So this is pretty much the standard 1.5 scale Little Engines 060 casting kit that they sold. I built the engine myself from scratch, really doing everything, the frame up, the tender, all that. Started in 1998, finished it, ran it for the first time in 2006. So quite a long time, but it's got a lot of miles on it since then. Oh my gosh, I couldn't even venture to guess how many actual miles we've put on it over the years. But it is coal-fired. Has a steel boiler with copper flues. It's a coal-fired engine, like I said, with bituminous. This is, it's not exactly Pocahontas. Pocahontas is one of the best grades of bituminous coal that's out there. This is actually slightly not as good as that. This is a Pennsylvania grade of coal. So we go through probably about 50 pounds in a good hard day's run. The safeties pop off just under 120 psi of pressure. We have 3 water sources on the locomotive. We have an injector, a super scale injector, an axle pump, and then the steam pump that's on your side that you see, the duplex steam pump, which is kind of made to look like an air pump. Obviously on the prototype it would have been an air pump. So a lot of the detailing on this has evolved over the years as I've learned how to do things better and more efficiently and in a robust way where things don't fail all the time. So always improving things after every meet, always trying to learn something and enjoy the company of everybody who's out here and learn from each other. So we're loving it. Great railroad. Probably pull about 7 or 8 cars tonight with a couple people, so should be a great time on the track.
Now you said this thing holds water. How much water does this locomotive hold, and where does it all store it at?
That's a great question. So the boiler itself is probably about 4 gallons worth of water. That's obviously, you know, actively being turned to steam. Right, the front section is the smoke box, so that's not water containing, but this section of the boiler is basically a big tea kettle with the fire going through the tubes that are inside of it. From the firebox section at the back here, where the fire is burning, you can see, I'll actually open the fire door for you. You can see the coal fire in there. We're starting to get pressure up, starting to get a good fire going.
Oh, that's a beautiful fire.
Now, that's obviously the water that's being turned into steam actively. The tender holds about 10 gallons of water. So the hatch is in the back here. The water compartment, the water legs that run down either side of the coal bunker are not functional, but the water compartment is about here, and obviously the full depth. So we'll run through that 10 gallons of water probably in about an hour of running. So we'll stop every time we come through the yard to take on more water. Also put boiler treatment in it, which keeps a lot of the gunk that's in the water, some of the calcium deposits. So use a product that's fairly common in the industry, LSB 8000. Has a bunch of different things in it that, again, try to keep things in suspension, help with the pH as well. Turns out the higher the pH, the better. Keeps the corrosion down, just keeps everything working well.
Nice. So, what is the biggest problem, or I should say, not a problem, but what would be the biggest thing you have to deal with when running a steam locomotive? What is your most important thing to remember, basically?
So the most important thing, I always say, there's actually 3 most important things: water, water, and water. Right? So it's all about keeping water in the boiler above what they call the crown sheet, right? So if you picture a tea kettle that's on a stove, right? As long as there's water in the tea kettle, that stove can be going flat out as hot as you want to make it, and the tea kettle will be fine. But if all that water boils off, now you're just heating a flat sheet of metal, and the more heat you put into it, you're basically just going to melt it at some point. So as long as there's water in the boiler, keeping all of the hot surfaces relatively cool, everything's fine. But as soon as that water drops, it's all over. You're going to start, like I say, potentially even melting some components. So you can see the water glass in the cab. The water level is right now pretty high, about what, 7/8, 3/4, 7/8 of a glass right there in the top. So obviously the steam space is on top and the water is down below. So anything above bottom of the glass is fine. Means that there's water covering the crown sheet, they call it.
Okay, so it's like a buffer zone.
Yep.
Okay.
So beyond that, the game, so to speak, is to make sure you're feeding in enough coal and enough water to give yourself pressure at any point in time that you might need it. So going up hills, of course, is a big time when you're using a lot of pressure. Part of the genius of the design of steam locomotives in general is that the harder you work them, the more steam they produce. You create more draft, just like, you know, the bellows. If you were a blacksmith or something, you know, you crank on the bellows, it really gets that coal fire going nice and hard. So the exhaust, as you're working a steam locomotive hard, is creating more draft through the fires, causing it to burn hotter, is causing you to produce more steam. So as long as you keep the balance of putting cold water in, which is going to knock down the steam, with, you know, your ability to generate that steam, you're golden. But if you get something out of equilibrium with that, then you run out of pressure or you get low on water, and obviously the water is what you have to always defer to. You always have to have water.
Thanks. One other question. The pressure that comes out the side of a locomotive, the under pressure, is that over excessive steam that's built up? Okay.
Well, so excessive steam actually would come out the two safeties on the top. So you can see they're just dribbling right now. So that's okay. When they pop, that's actually more of a geyser that'll come out. But I think what you're talking about is the cylinder drains. So there's when the engine is cold, when the cylinders are cold, you put hot steam into it. What's the first thing that happens? The steam condenses into water. Now, you know, you have a piston that's going back and forth. If there's not enough headspace, if there's not enough volume in there for the water, if you didn't have a way to drain that out, you could blow off the cylinder head with that, you know, hydrostatic force of the water trying to be compressed. We know water can't compress, so it just, boom, blows the head off. So there's the 4 drains front and back of each cylinder on the left and the right side. And when you're starting out cold or starting out from a station stop, you want to make sure you open those up so that you let any condensate drain out. So on this engine, they're actually steam operated from the cab. That's the little valve right here. That's next to the throttle. So this is the throttle. You pull this out, it actually actuates the throttle valve. It's just really almost like a ball valve that's up in the smoke box. There's just a lever that goes all the way through the boiler, and that puts the steam down to the cylinders. That's the valve for the cylinder drains, so you can open and close the cylinder drains while you're running the locomotive as you're coming up to a station stop. What they call the Johnson bar over on the right-hand side, so that's putting the locomotive into forward or reverse gear. You'll see a bunch of notches, so you don't have to run what they call full forward or full reverse. You can kind of back it off a little bit, and that just allows a different volume of steam into the cylinders, so you can really kind of use the expansion power of steam to help you get over the track. Actually use less steam overall, because each little puff of steam, you let that expand and drive the piston forward, as opposed to just dumping new steam in throughout that entire stroke of the piston. So that's another part of the game, you know, really trying to optimize how much steam you're consuming, in addition to how much steam you're producing.
Nice. Well, Thank you, Adam. I appreciate you letting us take a tour of your 060 little steam locomotive.
Absolutely, Brian. Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
So you can see, once again now, well, actually this is a good shot right here, right? So you can see before we had a kind of fresh coal that was just on. I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but this is, now the coal has burned for quite a while, so there's a lot of ash in there. You can see some cold spots. The black tops of some of the pieces is actually, it's really just ash, hot ash that's no longer actively burning coal. So that's when you know it's time to throw some more on. And coal is a very interesting substance. It actually has a variety of different, because it's organic, right? It has a variety of different molecules in it. So there's some molecules that are actually like more tarry. So as soon as you throw them in, those volatiles, they call them, will burn off first. And that actually, when you throw the coal in, that's what kind of creates a big cloud of smoke first. But those volatiles that catch easily and burn easily is what creates the instantaneous heat at first, and then the carbon catches on fire and gives you that sustained heat. So that's really the difference between the different grades of coal, is how much volatiles versus how much carbon content is in there.
Wow, that is very interesting. Thank you very much. You have a beautiful locomotive. And again, thank you very much for sharing that. I know all my subscribers and everybody who watches my videos. Oh,
there's the safety.
There's the safety. Yeah. We caught it, guys. Well, I'd like to say, everybody, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and catch you later.